Hey, this is Kevin from Gemini Outdoors, and today we will be discussing school shootings on this Theory of Life video series entitled Mass Shootings Part 1. Stick around. So when we talk about mass shootings, I separate mass shootings into two different categories. The first is school shootings, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. And what qualifies to me as a school shooting is like a elementary school, high school, private school, those types of venues. They're very structured and very organized, to whereas a college I would consider more of in the second category, which is a public venue type shooting. That would include colleges and universities, movie theaters, public places such as restaurants and malls, and yada yada yada. In school, when we start talking about these types of shootings, I think the very first thing that we have to address is this whole thing from progressives that try to label these shooters as mentally ill. Number one, they're not mentally ill. I do not consider them mentally ill. I'm sure a lot of people will say, "Oh, Kevin, they're mentally ill. They're all messed up." And I will agree to this, that they are disturbed individuals, but they are not truly mentally ill. And I will dispel that by saying that they have a train of thought once they start one of these events. They usually buy the gun just prior to the shooting. In most cases, that's how it starts off. They develop a plan by locating the nearest gun-free zone, because the vast majority of these shootings occur in gun-free zones. And then they execute the plan, and usually they either have an exit strategy of, I'm either going to let the police kill me, or I'm going to kill myself, or I'm going to have it try to get out of it by playing crazy, as James Holmes did. He even had another exit strategy to where he was dressed as a police officer in tactical gear to try to get out, I believe, by pretending he was a police officer, but they got him. And then he switched over to, I'm going to dye my hair green or orange or green or whatever color it was and pretend I was the Joker, since I attacked a viewing of the Batman movie or whatever. But we have to come to the realization and call these people what they are, which is evil people. You have to call them that. You have to call them what they are. They're evil people. They exist. They're here. They're not a figment of our imagination. They're not. We try to explain things. I think in our minds, in our human minds, we have to try to say that they have to be a certain way to be able to commit these types of atrocities. They have to be mentally ill. They have to be. No, they can be disturbed. Mentally ill is something completely different, in my opinion. Mentally ill is something that you have no control over. Your mind will not allow you to come up with some kind of a process. These people were well aware of what they were doing. They are well aware of what they're doing when they go into a school, in particular a school, and to begin shooting. These are the most evil people on the face of this earth, to target children. Children. Let me say that again, Democrats and progressives. Children. They're not mentally ill. They're evil. Pure and simple. They're the purest form of evil there is, just short of Satan himself. When you think things through, like, for example, the kid that did Sandy Hook, he had to get access to the gun. So what did he do? He killed his own mother. Then he turns around and he drives to school for whatever reason that he justified it. I'm sure he justified it in his own mind, which is part of the process. He felt victimized, that he was a victim, and that these kids victimized him for whatever reason. So he went into the classroom and started killing these beautiful, innocent children. And people want to automatically label him as mentally ill, to whereas there was a thought process there. Okay? He created a goal. He created a path to reaching that goal. And unfortunately, he achieved it. And unfortunately, when seconds counted, the police were just minutes down the road. Literally, just minutes down the road. And it doesn't take no time. And I'm going to get to that part, the solution part of it, a little later in the video. So let's keep talking about these evil people. They need to be held responsible for their own actions. They need to be, when people talk about them, and they're going to, I don't care how many people come and say, we don't want to hear the name of the killer. We don't want to hear the name of the killer. The press is going to say it anyway. So you might as well hold them to account. You need to let them know, we're not going to consider you mentally ill. We're going to call you evil, what the frick you are. You are evil. You are the purest form of evil. You are worse than Nazis. I mean, you have to put that out there. You have to make them own it, what they've done. Because if you don't make them own it, if you don't make them think in their mind, okay, I'm going to be disgraced for the rest of history. From now on, I'm going to be known as the evil person who walked into the school and opened fire. If you're sitting there and you're giving them a way out, you're giving them an excuse. I was mentally ill when I did it. I was mentally ill when I did it. They will stop shooting themselves. They'll stop. They'll surrender when they realize, hey, I can play crazy like James Holmes tried to, and I'm really surprised that he didn't get away with it. So kudos to Colorado and the people that were on that jury, because they seen through the crazy play, as I call it, and they sentenced him to hard jail time, and that's what he needed. And maybe that will be a lesson to these guys that, I'm not going to get a nice cushy sponge bath every day laying in a mental hospital, living off the taxpayers of this nation for the rest of my life. So they should be held accountable. They shouldn't be allowed to go to these mental hospitals and whatnot and be able to live off our buck for the rest of their natural life while they're spending time in there, because they're never going to get out of there. They're never going to get out of there. But we're going to have to pay to keep these murdering bastards alive. The next thing that really pisses me off and falls into where evil people exist is this notion from the progressives and the Democrats that they can predict what evil people can do with a background check. And it's been all over the news here lately, from the latest mass shooting that was in California that's not related to this in a way. But they want their background checks. Oh, we need a comprehensive background check. Number one, they already exist. You've already got them. When someone goes into a gun store to buy a gun, to purchase a gun, they have to go through a background check. And this is the thing that kind of drives me as a gun owner crazy, is you get on the news and you hear them, well, they legally obtained a firearm. If they haven't done anything wrong up to this point, how is a background check going to catch them? How? We do not live in the Minority Report, the movie The Minority Report with Tom Cruise in it, where we got these psychics who is sitting up in a room somewhere, in some slime pit, with a little ball rolling out whenever they say, oh, well, this mass shooting's going to happen a week from today, and we can get all these people in here to stop it. We don't live in that. We never will. Evil people are always going to find a way. They're always going to find a way. Look at Paris, for example. All these gun-free... that was a gun-free country, not just a gun-free zone. The whole country was a damn gun-free zone. What happened? Somehow, some way, they managed to sneak AK-47s, shotguns, and all this other stuff that they're not supposed to have. The gun ban didn't work there. And what happened? Did you see what happened there? How many, what almost, I can't remember what the number was now. Over 100 dead, I believe. They were fish in a barrel with no way to protect themselves. Did you see the video where the guy walks up at the cafe? The girl is sitting there with her hands over her head outside. He puts the AK-47 up to her head, and by some miracle, this is the luckiest woman on the face of this earth right now. You need to be thanking God that AK-47 didn't go off, because 99% of the time, it would. Which is shocking to me. The gun didn't go off. That's what those people in that concert hall, that's what those people in that cafe, that's what they were. They were fish in a barrel. They had no means to defend themselves. And here we are in this gun-free country, and these evil people get the guns. They found a way. They always will find a way. Criminals, evil people, terrorists, they will always find a way. Jihadists, radicals. Let's just call them radicals. From now on, just radicals. Okay? Radicals will find a way. They will always find a way. That's the one thing humans are good at doing. When they are bound and determined to do something, they can find a way. It's called ingenuity, people. Progressives don't give us enough credit. We're not stupid. But they want to believe you, make you believe you are. They want to believe that, oh, well, if your name's on this no-fly zone, which, from what I've heard, there are people in the government, in the actual government, that are on this no-fly zone. You shouldn't be able to own a gun. Well, it's easy to say when you got Secret Service protection, when you have armed guards around you 24/7. I've said it in my video response to this thing, is that, okay, if you're going to ban our guns and take our guns away, then you know what? I think you should be, Mr. President and Congress and all these other folks, let's take your armed security away and see how you like it. Being at the mercy of these people. There ain't no way in hell you'd give up your Secret Service. Any of you, or your armed guards, or private security, whatever it is that you use to protect yourself. Take it away. Say, all right, if you know what, you represent we the people. Well, we the people say you can't have any more security. If you're taking our guns away from us, we're going to take your protection away from you, and let's see how you like it. Okay. Like I said, we don't live in the movie The Minority Report. We can't read people's minds. If someone does not have a criminal record and they decide they're going to do something, it's going to be very hard to stop them. And when you have an evil guy with a gun, with any type of weapon, the only thing, if they are bound and determined and they are committed to creating, to following through with this, the only thing that's going to stop them is a good guy with a gun. Either an armed citizen. In most cases, it probably would be an armed citizen if we took away all these anti-self-defense laws that are on the books. A police officer, and that's about it. Good old-fashioned armed citizen and a good old-fashioned police officer, if the police officer happens to be there. Police do a great job, contrary to what a lot of folks believe. Did you see what that police officer said to those folks in that building? Kudos to you, Mr. Officer, and I'm saying it. That's 95% of your police officers out there. 95, I would probably venture to say even more, even a higher percentage than that. That's where these police officers are all about. That's what they're all about. Forgive me if I'm not speaking it good enough. I'll take a bullet before you will. Wow. Well done, sir. Well done. That's all I can say. Thank you to all those first responders to that as well. I mean, it had to be horrific. I heard one of the police officers talking about how awful it was, and they're even trained to deal with it, to walk in and see that kind of carnage. You're really good men, and you have my utmost respect. Thank you very much for what you do. I don't care what anybody else says. So let's get back to it. Why are school shootings so devastating? Why? The main reason is because children are involved. I mean, our little ones, our future, are involved. And the thought of someone, some monster, holding a gun up to one of these little babies' heads, or just going down the row of seats, just mowing them down, it's just too much for anybody to compare. I remember after Sandy Hook, my wife sat in bed for at least 5 to 6 hours crying, asking me why. Why? And I look at her and I say, sweetheart, I can't tell you why. I can't. Just some guy went on. Some guy made a decision in his head that he wanted to kill kids for whatever lame reason. And we both sat there and cried that night. I mean, we cried. And me as a gun owner as well, I was mortified. I didn't want to believe what I was seeing. And the first thing that popped into my head, well, what if there was an armed security guard there? Could it have stopped the carnage? What if the teachers were armed? Could it have stopped the carnage? And those kinds of questions always revolve in my head when situations like that happen. But like I said, the worst thing, I couldn't, my 5-year-old son, I tell you, just the thought of it, it scares me as a parent. I'm a father myself of a beautiful 5-year-old boy who's about to start school next year. And like I said, I'm going to get to a point in the video where I am going to discuss how we can defend against this stuff. I have an idea. I'm putting it out here. I really hope that my viewers will like this video, share it. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a better idea than what most people were putting out there. And we'll get to that in a minute. But let me get finished with this. Schools are structured. The ways that schools are built, they invite a mass casualty event. And what I mean by that is you've got these classrooms that are packed with kids. Basically, they don't have locks on the doors. If they do, the teacher's going to have to, it would depend on where she's at or he's at in the classroom, would have to run to the door to lock it. And even then, I mean, with the AK or with the AR or any kind of type of decent firearm caliber out there, the lock ain't going to last long. I mean, point blank, it's just not going. That's not going to last. Once that shooter gets into that classroom, it's going to be a mass casualty event. It's going to be. There ain't no stopping it. After he gets inside the school, inside a classroom, it's over. I'm sorry, I hate to be blunt. You need to hear this. To all you know, tender-eared progressives and tender-eared Democrats and bleeding heart liberals and all that other stuff, you need to hear this. Listen to what I'm saying. Once they get into the classroom, it is over. It's going to happen. Another thing that invites this mass casualty event is the fact that schools are gun-free zones. Why is it time after time after time after time? It is a gun-free zone where these things happen at. Whether it be a mall, whether it be a theater, whether it be a school, whether it be the entire country of France, it's always a gun-free zone, it seems like. I don't hear about this stuff happening at an NRA convention. I don't hear about these things happening very much at gun ranges. Why? Well, leave it to the imagination. Guess what's there? There's other guns there. There's guns in the hands of good guys that will turn around and fight you in a heartbeat. Most concealed carriers have already got it made up in their mind. If I'm carrying and something happens, I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to defend other people. If we can just get the damn anti-self-defense laws off the books, A lot more of these things will be prevented. Look at the Oregon shooting. There was a concealed carry guy there. But in his mind, he was thinking, do I really want to get involved with this? Because if I do go over there, you know, will I become a casualty? Maybe. Maybe I can live with that. Or am I going to get prosecuted for killing this dude after the fact? Gun-free zones, man. I mean, it's just like, it's almost like having a big billboard in front of the building say, "Mass shooters welcome," because that's what they see. Mass shooters welcome. Might as well have it in a neon billboard right over the top of it. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous concept. This sign, oh boy, look at that sign. Yeah, you know, I'm a mass shooter. I'm walking up, I see this sign with the gun and the little red with the cross through it like the Ghostbusters. Well, we need to go somewhere else. It's a gun-free zone, fellas. Yeah, I know, darn. It just wasn't meant to be today. Let's go find us something else. Yeah, right. You know, it just ticks me off so much that some people can liberals and progressives can sit there and say with a straight freaking face, dude, that, oh, we don't need no armed security guards in there. They might shoot kids. Well, the mass shooter's in there and he is shooting kids. Wouldn't you rather there be some bullets going back at him than all the bullets going to the kids? I would much rather know that there's an armed security guard in my son's school, or an armed teacher or something that's been trained. I'm not saying just let any Joe Blow do it. I'm saying that it needs to be trained to be there to be able to return fire. Because most of the time, once these guys get resistance, pop, they shoot themselves. Or they take off and run off, and they're cowards. They're cowards. They're cowards. They're perfectly fine when the advantage is completely in their court. And that's what these progressive policies about these gun-free zones and these anti-self-defense laws allow them to do. It gives them the advantage. Why? Why? When common sense tells you that the only thing that's going to stop a bad guy with the gun, and proven fact, by the way, that the only thing that stops a bad guy with the gun is a good guy with the gun, or the bad guy's gun itself after the deed is done.